Let's go for a drive. Well, here we are. So we're starting off our little journey road trip. This is my friend Steven. Steven's a longtime Aston owner. He has this gorgeous V8 Vantage. Fantastic color. I love the wheels too. The wheels on this car are really special. I gotta say that, you know, it's something I wish that they still has an option today, because the wheels, they just look freaking awesome and they have aged beautifully.
Yeah, that's great.
It's interesting because what year is this one, Steven?
This is a 2010.
2010. So this car is now 7 years old.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, yours has aged beautifully. Like it's honestly, we were having this discussion where it was what really is the best looking car of the last 10 years. And I always come back to the Vantage. We talk about Ferraris, we talk about Lamborghinis, but I'm still the adamant feeling, and this is unbiased, that some of those other cars, they're aggressive, but they're not beautiful, right? And this is properly beautiful.
No, I'd agree. I'd agree.
It's
aged really well.
It has aged really well, and it's gotten more beautiful in its years too. But like, I would also I'd go with any of them, right? Now you have something this car doesn't have though. You have the manual transmission.
Yes.
So when we were driving here, Steven's just got like the biggest smile on his face the whole bloody way.
I've always got a smile on my face.
So manual transmission.
Yeah.
The last two fun cars you've had though were also manuals.
Yes.
So talk to me about the differences that you felt between the clutch and the feel on a BMW versus the Porsche versus this.
Definitely. So the starting with the BMW, it had a heavy clutch.
Yeah.
But it was still assisted, so you know, doing like maneuvers like at slow speeds, it was fine. But what I found, and then the Cayman was very light.
Yeah.
The Aston's somewhere in between.
Yeah. I drove your Cayman.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I like how Porsches have this kind of way when your seating position is on the ground and everything is all kind of up high, right?
Yeah.
And the Aston sort of has that feeling too. But the thing that gets me about these is it's the visibility. Yeah. It's crazy. Like you see the mirrors, how low they are. You just like, it's all glass on the side of it, and it means that driving them and seeing at them is good.
It's really easy on a day-to-day basis to drive, to maneuver, to park. It's there's no real blind spots. Yeah. Well, comparatively for a car of this,
for like between that magic point between supercar and sports car.
It's a surprisingly practical car for.
Well, the hatchback's also massive on the thing. Like the English, they tout the ability that you can take 2 sets of golf clubs and da-da-da-da-da. But in reality, when we're not going golfing every 5 minutes, I'm not a golfer. For the people watching the video who are golfers, it's like, I'm not against you or anything, but like, it's plenty of space. You go for the weekend, you can pack stuff inside of it. Now, it being a hand-built car, service is it's surprising. You're not bringing them in as much as you'd figure.
No, there's the annual service, and outside of that, I haven't really had to bring it in for.
But the key with these ones, from what I've seen, is to get one that's actually driven. To get one that's being driven.
Yes, mine it gets driven. Let's just put it that way.
He's scared the bejesus out of me multiple times in his car. It's always this ability it's full on or it's full off. But I mean, half the time, especially with the exhaust note on these, obviously you want to have it full on.
You have to.
You want to go for a drive?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go for a drive. Here we go. V8 Vantage. Oh, this is the GT edition. The GT edition was kind of the final hurrah of the Vantage in the V8 engine. They were limited to only 2 years. They are unique in their design because they were the ones that had that really cool lipstick. They were overseas, actually, they had a different name. They were named after one of the race cars that Aston Martin had, and rightfully so. That's where the lipstick comes from. It's part of Aston Martin Racing. And it also is a vehicle that has the same body side moldings as the V12 Vantage. They also came with a sport exhaust system, which means that you get that really nice raspy growl from the engine, even more so than regular with the car. But the other thing is the interior is very, very different from the regular Vantage. This particular one has this beautiful black with red contrast stitching. We see it on the steering wheel, we see it on the dashboard. We also have black contrast, which is really, really nice, and this carbon fiber, which makes the car feel very, very sporty. But it is sporty. It's a naturally aspirated 4.7 liter V8. It's an interesting vehicle to drive. It's slightly narrower and also slightly shorter than a 911 is. And yet when you drive it, that small adjustment in the length and the size of the vehicle means it's much more maneuverable. The other thing about this car is it is, in my eyes, the last of the manual generation of sports car, supercar. What I mean by that is this has hydraulically assisted steering. It has the sport shift transmission, which is essentially a manual transmission that is shifted automatically for you, or by the paddles on the back of the steering wheel, controlled by yourself. And because of that, it's not the kind of car that you get into and just drives itself. It's not an autonomous, it's not an age of the electric kind of car. This is a vehicle that you have to learn how to drive. But the interesting thing about that is it's very, very rewarding when you do get to learn how to drive it. Once you know how to exploit its power, it rewards you. So in that regard, this is a car that makes you a better driver. Whereas a lot of other cars these days, you get into it and you just feel like a hero from square one. Definitely not one of those. Definitely not one of those. But the interesting thing with that is you feel everything. And you feel the response to the steering, you feel the response to the suspension system. You feel a certain level of interaction with the transmission that you don't get outside of a manual transmission. Manual transmission fans love the sport shift transmissions because it gives them complete control. Oh, look at this, through the corners, it's tight. And that sound over 4,000 RPM that the Astons are famous for. This vehicle, in many ways, I'm very sad to see it go because it's really, in our time, it's become a legend. This car has become a legend. For many of us, this was the first supercar or sports supercar that we ever owned. It was the first hand-built car maybe that we ever owned. And in that regard, this is kind of the jump-off point for many of us into that exotic class. You know, you maybe have one of these and then you upgrade to something more exotic and you move through the vehicles. And it's gonna be gone as of the end of this year. The V12 Vantage S dogleg manual, that's the final of a generation. And it does make me sad to see them go. But in the same regard, there's gonna be something very exciting that Aston has planned. We just don't know what that's gonna look like yet. You know, driving every single vehicle in the range, and also having driven a lot of cars in my days, not that many, but I have driven a lot of cars, I will say, if I had choice of any vehicle in the Aston Martin stable, I think it would be a Vantage. I don't know what kind of Vantage it would be, but it would be a Vantage. I like the size of it, I like the maneuverability of it, I like the way that it makes you feel. And as feels go, this car has it in spades. Everything is so heavy. The steering is very, very heavy. The brake and accelerator are very, very stereotypical of this generation. And what I mean by that is you can feel everything through them. It's the full, unadulterated sports car experience. As we come around the corner, oh, lovely. In the second corner, all that torque, just no delay through the corners. I was touching on this a little bit earlier. The visibility out of the Vantage is outstanding. When you're sitting inside of it, it feels like the entire thing leans forward to give you the best visibility. These mirrors also, the way that they're situated on the side of the car, it means that you get more view from the sides. it really all goes together to give you an outstanding driving experience.
Okay, so here we are in the manual. This is a 2010. What I love about this car, I've had many different cars over the years, but I never get tired of the sound. So it's actually a really easy car to drive as well. So on the long trips, on these great twisty roads as well, or even just driving it downtown, I find that it's quite versatile. And one of the things I like about owning an Aston is it's not the obvious choice. So you'll see, you know, there's so many cars that you can choose, you know, within this bracket. But you don't see an Aston every day. You know, maybe once a week or once a month, which you know, it's a nice little perk. And what I've also found just over the years is the conversations I have with people who I meet, it's generally positive. A lot of the time you know, with some other cars I've had, you know, there's a perception of, you know, what type of driver that person may be, but I find with the Aston it's generally positive. People like them. They think of James Bond and other positive connotations. So yeah, it's the small nuances that I like about owning this car. Typically I'll keep my cars for maybe 6 months to a year. I've had this for almost 3, and I could see myself owning it for another 3 because I just enjoy driving it that much. I'm not sure if you'll be able to pick up the sound of the engine on this video, but it's just fantastic. We've got Alek driving in front, and he's a pretty slow driver for such a young guy.
I've driven cars that have wheels that are too large, and I have driven cars that have wheels that are too small. This is just perfect.
I'm not too sure what he's doing. Actually, then again, we should obey the rules, so there you go.
Exquisite, exquisite. It's symphony is what it is. This is automotive art. Beautiful. This is the Last Supper of the V8. Literally the Last Supper of the V8. 20 years from now, we're probably not even gonna have V8s. We're all gonna be driving around in econo boxes that have electric engines in them. Nothing that there's wrong with electric engines. I get it, the future's coming. But a part of me is gonna miss this. It's gonna miss this big time. Thanks for watching the video. We have new videos like this coming out every Wednesday. Remember to subscribe for more, and also like and comment.